These are our stuffed artichokes. First thing I do is I cut off the stem. A lot of prep work to this.
What are you doing right there? Skinning the stem.
Off the stem, yes.
You cut the stem off, and now you're doing something else to the stem.
I'm peeling the stem. Now I'm using lemon juice on it to keep it from turning. I'm going to stick these in a pot of water.
Right. And she cuts them off flat like this at the bottom, so they stand up like this.
How are you going to edit this? Next, I cut off the top. And then I use a pair of scissors to cut off the sharp pointed ends so that nobody gets hurt.
Let's see an example of that.
This takes a little time. A little prep work at the beginning, but well worth it. Need to be sure to rub lemon juice on the base. Try to keep the color in it so it looks good.
Okay.
After clipping off the leaves, you take the melon baller and get out the choke on the inside, kind of like this. You want to get that part out. Takes a little bit of work. If you happen to have a grapefruit spoon, it works better. This makes for easier eating. As you can see on the inside, that's the choke cleaned out the best you can. Some of it you have to take with your fingers and scoop out because sometimes the spoon doesn't get it out. After I do that, I rinse it out then. After rinsing them off, we stick them in a pan of water, bring it to a boil, and boil them and the stems for about 10 minutes. For our stuffed artichoke recipe, we have all of our ingredients here I wanted to go over. We have 1.5 pounds of ground sirloin. We have 1 pound of Italian sausage. We have a medium onion, 2 cloves of garlic. I have fresh basil here, but you can use the jar kind. I've dried this on my own, and it takes 2 teaspoons divided. Some sugar, some salt and pepper, a can of tomato sauce, an egg, which is slightly beaten, and 4 slices of bread. 10 minutes is up. We have them draining upside down on a rack to get the water out and while they're cooling so we can stuff them. In a large mixing bowl, we're going to mix all of our meat ingredients together. It's 1.5 pounds of ground sirloin. It's 1 pound of Italian sausage out of the casing. And what we use is hot and mild, but you can use whatever you'd like. You can use either the hot or you can use the mild by itself. To this, I'm adding the medium onion and 2 cloves of garlic, chopped up. I'm also adding 4 slices of bread, cubed. I'm also adding a teaspoon of dried basil. I'm using another teaspoon in the sauce later. I need a teaspoon of salt and a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Combine all these ingredients pretty well. Try not to overmix. If you find that it's too dry, I add an egg to add moisture to it. What I do is I divide the meat in fours because I have 4 artichokes to stuff. I want to try to make it as even as possible. And what I do is I start from the first part of the center and I stuff in, not too tight, but just enough to bring it up to the top, make it kind of a flush across. And then what I do is I start stuffing the leaves. I kind of come in and stuff each individual leaf, not every single one of them, but just a few. Kind of go around, you're going to make it look almost like a flower. Now you're ready to go ahead and stuff the other 3 with the rest of the meat. In a large mixing bowl, we mix 1 can, 28 ounce of tomato sauce. This happens to be chunk tomatoes, but you can use tomato sauce if you'd like. A half a can of water. A teaspoon of basil. Teaspoon of salt. Half a teaspoon of pepper. And about a teaspoon of sugar. And then you stir that all together. You take and dip it in the beaten egg. Place it in a shallow pan, frying pan, with some oil. You fry this for about 15 or 20 seconds. This binds it together and it also gives it a nice brown crust on the top. Then you place it in the pan with the stems and you proceed with the other 3. After you've placed the artichokes in the pan, you pour your tomato sauce over the top of them. Cover it. Place it in a 350-degree oven for 2 hours.